Okay, so tonight we're talking about comparing with adjectives. All right, some rules you need to know about. You might want to write these down in your notebook. First of all, you're going to add ER to an adjective to compare two persons, places, or things. So if I was going to say that Mrs. Fernley is smarter than Miss Geisen, haha, just joking. But if I was to say that, I would add an ER to smart. So it would look like this. Smarter. Smarter. Okay. Number 2, you're going to add EST to compare 3 or more persons, places, or things. Mrs. Geisen is the prettiest teacher of all. Okay. So on this one, I can't just put the Y in there. I gotta have to change it to the IST. Okay, prettiest teacher of all. And finally, number 3, with long adjectives, use more to compare two persons, places, or things, and use most to compare 3 or more persons, places, or things. I thought this was kind of hard because I'm like, what is a long adjective? So let's say confident. Okay, Miss Fernley is more confident. Confident is a long adjective. It's a long word. Okay, so I'm either more confident than other people in the room, or I'm the most confident person in the room. Okay, you see how I didn't change confident at all? I didn't add an ER, I didn't add an EST. I put more confident. So it wouldn't be more confidenter, more confidentist, nothing like that. You do not change the word when you are using more or most. Okay, let's take a look at this little chart here comparing with adjectives. So this is just another chart for the rules for adjectives. When you have an adjective that ends with an E, okay, you're going to drop the E and add the ending, such as wide. Wide ends with E here. So I'm going to take that away and I'm going to add ER. Okay, same thing with widest. I'm going to drop the E and add an EST. If there's a single vowel and a consonant, you're going to double the consonant and add the ending. So now I have hot and I want to add so I can't just write hotter. I've got to give it 2 T's. I'm going to double that consonant and add ER. Same thing goes with EST. Okay, so anytime you have anything that ends with a consonant, you're going to add an ER or another consonant and then the ER or the EST. If there's a consonant and a Y, like pretty or happy, you're going to drop the Y and add an I before the ending. So in this case, we would take happy, we'd get rid of that Y, and then we'd just add an IER instead. Okay? All right, with longer adjectives, like we talk about, like confident, it'll be more confident. Confident doesn't change in either one of these. Doesn't change at all. You just add a more or a most in front of it. Let me erase this. Okay. So for these, what they're asking us to do is actually find out if it's comparing 2 or more people or things or places. Okay. Ephraim was the happiest of all the violin students. Okay. So right here it says all of all. So that means there's more than 2. So that's why you use happiest, because there's more than 2. All right, his footsteps were lighter than Mr. Washington. So now we're talking about his and Mr. Washington. There's only 2 people. Okay, so that's why we have lighter and not lightest. This new piece of music is more difficult than that one. So this one, that one, 2. Okay, but we're using the adjective difficult. So we're going to add a more difficult instead of making it difficulter or difficultest. It's just going to be more difficult because difficult is a bigger word. The air is hotter today than it was yesterday. Today, yesterday, comparing to. Okay, so we are going to have ER. And finally, Ephraim was the finest violinist of all the young students. That's more than 2. So that's why we have EST. He was not more finer. He wasn't most finest. Okay. Fine is not a long adjective. Difficult, a long adjective. Confident, a long adjective. Generally, anything that's got multiple syllables in it for an adjective is going to be considered a long adjective. So just read it to yourself, read it out loud, and see how it sounds to you before you do anything. So this was kind of a short little lesson, I guess you would say. So let's look at our WSQ for tonight. All right, so for tonight's WSQ, I want you to correct these 5 sentences. You don't have to rewrite the sentences in your notebook. Just write number 1 and write it how it's supposed to be. This math problem is the harder one I've ever had. That's not correct. Write the correct one in your notebook and do that for all 5. And we will correct them, or I will take a look at them tomorrow morning. Have a good night.